So today the message is on Chayei. And it's funny that last year I spoke on the same thing and I went to listen to it and I thought, oh, it's really a good message. But I didn't want to give the same message today again. So I looked through I asked God, please show me what to bring to our community. And, I love that every single parasha has so many stories and so many pictures, and every picture paints is like 1,000 words. So as I read, I was amazed to see a thread begin to unravel. And the same thread resounds throughout our history. But as you know, it's just my opinion. And that's the beauty of Torah. Each of us might see it differently. I love that I'm part of the long heritage. I remember when Miriam said, we come from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Miriam. And it really hit me that all of us has such a long, beautiful heritage. And we have the teachings of our prophets and of our special Yeshua. And to tell you the truth, I've had so many conversations this week about who Yeshua is that I struggle with his identity even to today. I know he's a rabbi. I honor his teachings. I do not see him in the way other religions do. But all I can do is hope that I can present to you the best of what I see in this parasha, Chayei. So it begins in Genesis 23, verse 2 with, Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, and that's Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham went to mourn for Sarah, and to weep for her. Then Abraham arose from before his dead and spoke to the sons of Het, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. So then we see the bargaining process begins for the field and the cave of Machpelah, where Abraham was going to bury Sarah. From last week's parasha, we know that Abraham had excellent negotiation skills with the Creator when he was negotiating over Sodom and Gomorrah, maybe 50, 45. He went all the way to 10. So surely Het wouldn't be a problem. So now listen carefully to the dialogue that follows between Abraham and the Hittites, Het and Ephron. Hear us, my Lord. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choice of our tombs. None of us shall withhold his burial chamber from you, so that you may bury your dead. Abram got up, and he bowed down to the people of the land, to the sons of Het. And he spoke to them, saying, If your mind is that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and plead for me with Ephron, the son of Zohar, to give me the cave of Machpelah, which he has at the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth. Let him give it to me as a possession for a burial place among you. Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron, the Hittite, answered Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Het, and of all who entered at the gate of his city. Now that's going to be repeated. And all who entered at the gate of a city. That's a lot of people, a lot of witnesses saying, No, my Lord, hear me. I give you the field. I give you the field and the cave that is within it. I give it to you in the presence of the sons of my people. I give it to you. 3 times repeated. Bury your dead. And Abraham bowed before the people of the land. And Abraham spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, But if you will, I beg you, hear me. I will give you the price of the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, My Lord, listen to me. A piece of land is worth 400 silver shekels. What's that between you and me? Bury your dead. And Abraham heard Ephron. So Abraham weighed out the silver to Ephron, which he had named in the hearing of the children of Het, 400 silver shekels, current money among the merchants. Did you notice the repetition and emphasis on in the hearing of the sons of Het and all who entered the gate of the city? This information was well recorded and remembered. but later generations developed what we call selective memory. Why didn't Abraham simply take Het at his word? Wasn't giving him the property a kind and generous gesture on the part of the Hittites? Why didn't Abraham negotiate on the price, even though he knew that he was being charged an exorbitant amount of money? Abraham knew full well the character of the people living in that land. Het, the father of the Canaanites, was the son of Canaan, whom God had cursed because of Ham's behavior with Noah. The Canaanites were idol worshippers who practiced human sacrifices in which children were slaughtered in front of their parents on stone altars and dedicated to their god Molech. They also engaged in deviant sexual activity. This is what formed the character of the Hittite people. In Genesis 24, we see that Abraham sent his servant to find a wife for Isaac and told him, I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughter of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. And later, in Genesis 27:46, we'll see that Esau marries 2 Hittite women who made Rebekah's life miserable. Abraham had left that lifestyle when he obeyed God's call to follow the one invisible God. And he passed that on to his son Isaac, who would pass it on to Jacob. At no time did it look like Abraham was judging the Hittites. He knew the weakness of our human nature. He had seen his own failures twice, when he lied about Sarah being his sister. But following God meant that he now had the choice to change his behavior and to grow in wisdom. He was always gracious, hospitable, and kind. Why is it so important for us to know that Abraham purchased this cave from the Hittites instead of accepting it as a gift? One of the reasons is knowing the character of the person with whom you are about to make a deal. He knew that their word could not be trusted. They might simply at any time in the future have taken their land back. I've heard stories about how Jews after the Holocaust came to Israel, bought and paid for their properties from the Arabs, who later insisted that the land was stolen from them. And that lie continues to this day. There are still those who want to sell land to the Israelis, but their own people persecute and even kill them for doing that. Perhaps Abraham had another reason for paying the full price, which I surmised from the verses in Genesis 14:21-23. And the king of Sodom said to Abraham, give me the people, and you can take the goods for yourself. And Abraham said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand to the Lord God Most High, maker of king of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread, nor a shoelace, nor anything that is yours, lest you should say, I made Abraham rich. In my opinion, this is the same principle. Although both Het and Ephron insisted that Abraham would not have to pay for the tomb, Ephron made sure that Abraham knew what it was worth. Were they being upfront in their dealings? Did they say what they meant? I'm not judging them because I've seen that in my own character. We've all done it. But those of us who walk with our God are called to a higher standard. Abraham showed integrity while the Hittites did not. Excuse me. I remember my father-in-law telling me that in business, when he made a promise, all he needed to do was to shake hands. It was as good as a signed contract. His word was his bond. But he was living in Egypt then, and one day the government took everything away from the Jews. Contracts, handshakes meant nothing. Abraham knew that the Hittites could do the same. In Exodus 3:8, when God spoke to Moses from the burning bush, he said, I have come down to deliver them out of the land of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land to a good and large land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanite and the Hittite, etc. The Israelites would over time have to remove these people from the land before they could ever live in peace. If they didn't drive them out, we are told in Numbers 33, 55 to 56, but if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then those who allow you to remain, who you allow to remain, shall be as thorns in your eyes and as jabs in your side, and they shall harass you in the land in which you dwell. And it shall come to pass that as I thought to do to them, so will I do to you. Wow, these words may sound harsh, but history has shown us what happens when we disobey our God. The descendants of the Hittites still live among us today, within the modern state of Israel and outside its borders, causing death and harm to our people every single day. There's been a high rate of violence in and around Hebron during the past century. And January 1997, part of Hebron came under the administration of the Palestinian Authority, the PA. They are avowed enemies of Israel. Although the cave of Machpelah was deeded to Abraham at its purchase, as we read, our people have only limited access to it today. It's now a site of the Ibrahimi Mosque, or the Sanctuary of Abraham. They don't honor that ancient deed. That's the difference between those who have a relationship with the Creator and those who don't, with those who have honor and integrity and those who don't. Our background has so much to do with the formation of our characters. Our family life is the soil in which we grew to be the people we are today. The advantage that those of us have, knowing from where we come, coupled with a sincere relationship with the God of Israel, is that we can choose to change certain negative learned behaviors that do not reflect that we were made in His image. When we come to the realization that there is only one Creator, one God for all humanity, however that happens, it's different with each of us. We come to understand that He has given us a standard of truth, the 10 Commandments, by which we can know how to make wise choices in our lives. This is followed by a sense of responsibility and integrity. Our lives, like Abraham's, begin to reflect a lifestyle very different from those who do not live by this standard. So, to sum up, even though Abraham failed with his words when he lied about Sarah being his sister, as we all fail, Abraham's word over time was becoming his bond. He acted upon his principles, turning his emunah, his faith, into bitachon, trust. Yeshua was so clear about this when he said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. That is the heart of our Creator, who never goes back on His word. There are not many leaders today who we can trust, who keep their word, and those who do are under constant attack. Despite the attacks that come, may we walk in the footsteps of Abraham, in integrity, and in so doing be a light to those who are searching for a standard by which to judge right from wrong, especially at a time when what is right has become wrong and what is wrong has become right. Let us stand up for the truth in Torah, and let us stand out above the rest. Shabbat Shalom.